Blog number 80. And that's the magic of. As I look back on my younger days, it is amazing to me to realize and see just how many things are related directly to. Well, and shockingly, I realize that I'm still the same person now physically as I was then as a child. Figure that one out. Anyway, it's amazing to me to see how many things are related directly to my onset of ataxia in my adult years. If you have been reading my blogs, you know that I have been able to connect quite a few of the events from my childhood to my current life. And having these events in my life makes it all seem to be very convenient. Like I am making it up just to prove a point, or to give myself something to write about. I assure you, though, that this is not the case. You, dear readers, are getting the truth and nothing but the truth. A couple of days ago, I wrote about on Facebook about a wonderful world of magic that I believe ataxia is. I had just made a laundry bottle cap disappear right before my very eyes, and if I hadn't been there, I probably wouldn't even have believed it. This was pretty easily accomplished, though, by fumbling it and eventually flipping the screw top behind the dryer, where it promptly rolled underneath to never be seen again. Unless, of course, I moved the dryer, but that would reveal how that trick was done. Anyway, this thought opened up another previously uncorrelated memory from my childhood. Because on the Christmas morning of my ninth year, I received a beginner's magician set. Now, one of my favorite things to do, however, was not learn from the beginning box of tricks. I used to really enjoy performing for friends and family the 52 card pickup trick, which I guess wasn't much of a trick at all. Because basically what you did was fling a deck of cards all over the floor and then yell out for them to now pick them up. Unfortunately, this was a one-time trick, as most of my audience understood how this particular trick was done, and there almost never seemed to be a particular eagerness expressed for a repeated performance. The 52 card pickup trick was an easy enough feat to master. It required no practice beforehand, nor did you have to spend any energy and forethought. You basically just grabbed a deck of cards in one hand, bent them like you meant to shuffle them, and then instead shot them all over the floor. This is pretty much the same concept as my ataxia, because it needs no forethought, planning, or skills. And often, when I grab something with one hand, it may look like I mean to do something else. But in the end, there's just a big old pile on the floor that has to be picked up. Ataxia is also a trick that I wouldn't like to repeat. One of the tricks that did come from the box, however, was performed with what looked to be an ordinary deck of playing cards. In reality, only half the cards were a mix of standard cards. The other half were all the same card, which is, in my case, was the Five of Hearts. The idea was to fan quickly through the deck before an utterly awestruck individual and have the complete deck appear to be entirely normal. The card deck would then be placed down, you tap on it a few times with a finger, and then you would quickly fan it again before the person proved the trick was being done. However, this time the entire deck would contain a vast number of the same card, which again in my case was the Five of Hearts. Even though this was a simple trick done 43 years ago, I feel bound by the magician's code not to reveal the secret behind this dazzling, impressive card trick. Okay, it was a rigged deck where the two different cards were different lengths, so depending on how you held them and fanned them out, one or the other face type would be dominant and the only one to show. Hey, but you didn't hear that from me. In a lot of ways, that old card trick resembles my ataxia, which is to say that depending on how I hold things and shuffle throughout the day, this will have a significant determination on how it'll go for me. Either one type of day will be dominant and be the only one to show, like dropping everything, constantly stumbling, and continually walking into objects, or the other type of reality will present itself, where I fall, stumble, and walk into stuff only half the time, which is also known as a pretty good day. Ataxia has provided me with the skills and the natural abilities to pull off some pretty spectacular tricks. But like a good musician, however, I will not be persuaded to give the secret away behind the trick. Anyway, the truth is that no one actually even asked me how that particular ataxia tricks are done. They only want to know why they were done. This state of affairs has always been kind of a mystery to me, as no one ever asked Houdini or any other well-known magician exactly why they did a particular trick. People are rarely obsessed with knowing how they did a certain trick. This seems to be extremely backwards to me, as no one has yet been able to identify and to come to truly appreciate the magic that ataxia is. There were, of course, other tricks in the box that I received in my youth, the details of which I can't exactly recall. But the common theme behind all of them was based on some kind of illusion. This is just so happens to be another way in which ataxia is tied into my 9-year-old magician's skills. What appears to be normal is not always that way. Of course, the more time I spend with SCA, the more I realize that I have to downplay any illusion of looking normal. Like walking straight or poking myself in the eyes and other vital organs, etc., etc. I'd never be able to get anything done if I didn't do that, because people would constantly be stopping me and wanting me to perform some sort of ataxia-based illusion for them. I don't have that kind of time. And before anyone asks me, no, I cannot take on an apprentice. I don't know exactly why I have these skills, but it cannot be taught. And believe me, if I could open up a school to the general public and teach them beginning ataxia, I would, because I'm sure I could make millions, or maybe thousands, I don't know, hundreds. It would be more than I have right now anyway. Maybe I could contribute to the popular how-to series of books by writing an Ataxia Magic and Illusions for Dummies handbook. It's actually not that hard. All you need to have is your own official copy of Ataxia, and the rest will all come to you naturally. I'm kidding, of course, and if you've read my writings, then you know that I do this. I also can be serious and very sober, but I joke about my ataxia in my life in an effort to lighten the mood. Yes, ataxia is serious, and yes, there is plenty to be frustrated about. However, I believe, though, that we need to experience some balance in our lives. Life in any form or any kind of ataxia can be challenging and depressing, but it can also be incredibly ironic and funny. It is a matter of how you look at it, and I, for one, will continue to find the humor in my situation, so that ataxia will not try to highlight and bring out the negative, as it has a way of managing to do if we let it. Almost 3 years ago, I wrote a blog entitled Seriously, in which I went into depth on my feelings about ataxia. I have included a link to that writing, also the audio link, if you would like to read it again, or listen to it for the first time, or maybe just all over again.